the Teflon that's on your frying pan and the manufactured utensils, these are all made out of a chemical factory, a chemical composition, and they leach, and they're leaching these components into your food and into your water constantly. We're providing water that is analogous with nature's water. So often we might get a question that it smells a little different to the water off my countertop. Well, yes, because it's living. It has organisms and energy in there that's essential. PFAS is something, Catherine, that we've been doing for the last sort of 6 months. And I don't know if anybody's ever seen it in real terms. I'll send you a picture, but it looks like semolina when you really distill it out of the water. And this is an industrial process we're working on right now. But you can't ingest it. You can't do anything with it. It's just going to cause you a problem. But it looks like semolina. It's awful.
Awful.
Awful. Little tiny pieces of plastic. I just want people to understand one thing, the value of water. You know, whether you buy Zest or not, whether you invest in this part of your health journey or not, water is the most valuable resource in our domain. It's not exhaustive. We've only got an infinite amount of it. Let's look after it.
Right, welcome back to the Live, Love, Learn podcast with me, your host, Catherine Edwards. And we have got a really important subject matter to discuss, something that affects absolutely everyone listening to this. So did you know that over 99% of the molecules in your body are water, not just the 70% by volume? And this means that water isn't just a background player in health, it is foundational to health. But unfortunately, what most of us call clean water today, whether it's from a tap or a bottle, isn't just full of microplastics, heavy metals, hormone disruptors. It's also stripped of the natural structure and energy water's meant to have. Now, nature creates water in a structured living form, what scientists like Dr. Gerald Pollack called easy water, the type of water your cells actually need to function. Researchers like Dr. Emoto and the amazing Vida Austin have also shown that water carries memory and responds to emotion, intention, and frequency. But let's face it, most of us are not even taught this, and we're taught to take water for granted whilst bathing, cooking, and drinking various degrees of toxic dead liquid that can harm our body and mind. So today's conversation with Richard Harland from Zest Water for Life is so important. Zest is completely different to other filters on the market, using natural volcanic minerals to purify but also revive your water, removing the junk whilst keeping the structure and minerals that make water truly life-giving. So this talk today, it's really for anyone who's concerned about your health, your family, your pets and our plants, and how we can make our water safe again. So Richard, an important subject matter. Why did you get so passionate about water?
Well, it underpins everything in life, Catherine, and good to be back. A little grayer, but good to be back.
Yes.
Yeah, it underpins everything in life. As I said before on previous casts, we've been looking after industrial water for some time, and I think the importance at home rang true with me, and we were buying all sorts of different mechanisms to get rid of the contamination in the water. So we're applying it at home.
And that's so important, because a lot of people watching this are very concerned about not really knowing what's in their water and the safety. And most people, most members of the general public, particularly anyone that's watching this, they assume their water's safe. They assume because it's within limits that their governments call them are safe, there's nothing wrong with it. So what are some of the main problems that people are exposed to?
Safe and acceptable levels. if we really think about the man-made stuff, that's what's really causing the health-related issues. So the PFAS, all of these forever chemicals, going back to the 60s, and it's found that some of the DNA from even back then still exists in the current findings of the PFAS that's sort of morphing itself into the world. And that's the real thing that's causing most of the problems are health-related issues, PFAS.
So what is PFAS then for people that don't understand the abbreviation?
Yeah, well, if you think about your frying pan, the Teflon that's on your frying pan and the manufactured utensils, these are all made out of a chemical factory, a chemical composition, and they leach, and they're leaching these components into your food and into your water constantly. So these problems are we're oblivious to it. Let's say that up until recently, it's been something that's been off the radar.
Yeah, and what else? Because most people have heard of like the microplastics is a big issue now that again has been going on for a long while, but we're only just realizing how bombarded we've got heavy metals. We've got most people have got no idea how their water is actually filtered before it comes to them, which of course will vary in different countries.
Yeah. Yeah, disinfectant byproducts, things that your chemicals that you're using in your home, the residues of that stay with you. And they get into your garden, they're getting into the groundwater, and it's a never-ending cycle. And that's really why we wanted to bring Zest into everybody's home, so that we could put a stop to that cycle.
Yeah. What about the pharmaceuticals and things like that and
Yeah,
residues?
pharmaceutical residues, things that come out of the estrogen pill that leach back into, we all go to the loo. We in modern society, we recycle water, and those things stay in the water and they come back. And this is why fertility is dropping. This is why all of these health impacts from chemical and medical residues, they never get out of the system using the conventional water treatment process.
Okay, so your background in wastewater process, we're in the UK, both you and I know this does vary in different countries, but most people assume that their water that reaches them in the tap is really well filtered and safe for these things. Why is that not correct?
Well, if you think about demand on water, that's really the underpinnings of it. The population has grown. If you think about how many more housing estates have been developed in your local area, there's no more water treatment or very little extra water treatment establishments being put in place. So we're stressing the water cycle all the time. Now, nature has a way of dealing with contamination, not PFAS because that's man-made, but if it's a natural occurrence, nature has a way of dealing with that. But if we're putting the water under stress and we're trying to push it through a system faster than it ought to be, which is what's happening, there's only an infinite amount of water on the planet. We're reusing that water before it's had time to restabilize itself, to re-energize itself nature's way. That's the problem.
And what about extra problems like chemtrails and things that are adding to the extra burden? Because I'm sure a lot of the water filtration systems that were put in place weren't designed to deal with these modern man-made contaminants, which of course would also include all the pharmaceuticals.
Yeah. This is what I say, that the biggest challenge is the man-made element. I think there has been a significant impact through the deposits that have come through the cloud seeding. But I would honestly say that the PFAS, the issues with microplastics is bigger than that. That's more difficult for the wastewater treatment plant to deal with. And they're not even targeting that. They're not even acknowledging that there's a problem.
Yeah, okay. So water, we all take it for granted. Most of us watching this will be able to go into our kitchens, turn on a tap and get some water. Why is it truly foundational to health? And what do we mean by structured water?
Foundational to health. you started by saying that our cells, our bodies are a high percentage water, and it is in the 90s, not in the 70s as assumed, because the cellular water, which is actually in the fourth phase of water. Think about this piece of knowledge. When you cut yourself, if you were made of water, probably the water would leak out, and it doesn't because it's in the gel phase. So the importance of that easy water, as it's termed, is that it's negatively charged and it actually provides the energy for cellular processing. So that's how important it is. All of the processes in our body is underpinned by the energy that's held in the cell through the easy water, as it's termed. Very clever. We're clever things, human beings, aren't we?
Well, yeah, but this applies to all our animals and our plants too,
Absolutely.
doesn't it?
It does. It does. And the issue with this high processing of the water and the fast over processing of water, it loses its energy, its vitality, the minerals that are incumbent in natural water. And this is what's missing in the supply water we're getting back from water authorities. Awful.
And what about people that are drinking bottled water? And what about things like taking into account, because a lot of people have sort of countertop water filtration devices of various sorts. But, when I was discussing with you what I needed for my home, we've got the cooking, we've got the showers, we've got the bath, we've got what you're watering your vegetables with. I mean, I think most people who've got a countertop water filtration give that water to their pets, but there's so many other ways that we're taking in water and therefore the contaminants, aren't there?
Absolutely. I think it's common that people think that they only get hydration through drinking the water from the tap. But cooking is a particular issue because as you heat water, it changes its composition. These PFAS things are unaffected by heat. This is really important. So you can't cook them off. So yes, it's important that you have clean water in your kitchen, structured, healthy water. But consider having a shower. The fastest way to your bloodstream is through inhalation. So if you're having a hot shower, you're breathing the steam in. Remember the PFAS, those tiny particles of something that you never see, fastest way into your bloodstream, steam. So if you're standing over your cooker stove and you're cooking and you're breathing the steam in, you water in your garden, the plants absorb that PFAS, you grow it, you cook it, you put it back in your body. This never-ending cycle. It's really bad.
It really is, isn't it? We've got so far away from common sense. So,
Yeah.
so we've got the contaminant issue, and then we've got the actual structure of it where we're going to come on to. And I've got a couple of areas I want to ask you about this, Richard. So we've got this EZ or exclusion zone, fourth phase water. I'd like you to talk through a bit of the significance of that in a bit more detail, but also how the water arrives to us, Richard. In nature, we know that everything has got shapes and movement. Water's encouraged to move. So most animals, given the choice in nature, they won't drink from a still pond because they know it's likely to be contaminated. They go for the moving water sources.
Yeah.
How important is this in terms of the water that arrives in our homes, or even that we buy in a bottle in the shop?
Everything else is relatively dead. It's like drinking the stuff that people used to put in the batteries, distilled water. It's a bit like RO water. If you're to drink RO water, you're taking out everything and you're drinking essentially dead water. Now, the water that your body needs to be negatively charged, which is how nature provides it to us. And that's because the cells in our body, we can only adapt that water if it's negatively charged. Remember, we were talking about easy water. That cellular water is very, very important to every function of our body. The most of all the things that we can survive without, water is not one of them. We can go without food for long periods of time. You can't go for water without water. And to take that to the next stage, if we're drinking contaminated, can't even get it out of my mouth, contaminated water. We're putting our body into a stress situation. We've got a great filtering and chemical factory in our bodies, But if we're overstressing that, much like the water's being overstressed in the domain, where we're not living the healthiest life that we could possibly live. And it's a simple thing. And this is why we wanted to do something completely divorced of everything that everybody else has done in the past with regards to providing good quality water in the home throughout. So that structured water, and what structure means is it's negatively charged, it has energy, which we provide. We're providing water that is analogous with nature's water. So often we might get a question that it smells a little different to the water off my countertop. Well, yes, because it's living. It has organisms and energy in there that's essential, and those minerals that we need. We don't take those out. It's really important we leave that well alone.
So let's go into the detail then of what the Zest is. And I've got one in my house, and I've had it for nearly 2 years now.
Gosh.
But there's a couple of things that for me made it so appealing for me. One, it did the whole house. That was essential. And for me, the way I've got mine positioned, it also does my outside tap that I use to water the garden and for the horses water as well, which is absolutely fantastic. So the Zest does the whole house. Can you talk us through that and talk us through the filter structure, Richard, in terms of what makes that different from, say, some other things out on the market, like the distilled or the reverse osmosis? Yeah.
Right. I think the most fundamental thing is we're using nature. We're not using any fabricated process. We're using nature's way to mirror what nature would give us if it had time. So we're macro, micro, and nano particle processing, and we're using a range of natural minerals that are super negatively charged to draw in the positive charges, which are all the contaminants. We lock those away, enabling the water to flow, the negatively charged water to flow out throughout the house. So that's really important. That goes back to the structuring argument. We're taking out all of those impurities in such a way that they will never get back to the environment. That's one of the primary objectives we set out at the beginning. So you install Zest, whether it be Natuno or Juno, there's two in the range at the moment and something exciting coming down the track. You install it where the stop tap is, the first point of contact with water inside your property. And what that does is make sure that you don't get oxidated water, you don't get this dead water traveling around your house. I mean, it's going to take a little while to flush out the old water if you've got a water tank or anything like that. But once it's installed and we're activating the filter, energizing the filter, and it's the water pressure and flow that energizes the filter, that's it. Water through the house. Does that answer the question?
Well, yeah, more or less. So let's go into a bit more detail now. So you said that those contaminants will never get back into nature. How does that work?
Simple. Nature's way again. We're using ion exchange capacity. So that highly negative charge attracts all the things that are positively charged. All the pharmaceuticals and all of these things, they're positively charged. So inside the filter, they swap. We're exchanging that positive for negative ion, and that's then chemically bonded inside the filter. That can't be released until we get your filter back, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure, about the exchange process. But once it's locked in the system, just to talk about zeolites and the broader aspect of these natural medias, the surface area is exponentially bigger than anything else that's used, whether it be reverse osmosis, whether it be activated carbon. So we have a huge surface area. This is why you only change the system every 2 years to lock away those contaminants. And that's I think the primary thing is that once we've got the contamination out, we should make sure it never gets back into the water cycle. So that's how Zest primarily works. And there's a secondary aspect to Zest is that we're motivating the water. We're giving it a motivational structure using the resonance of the natural resonance of water, motivated water, and it helps it shed all the detritus that's incumbent, except for the minerals. Obviously, we're going to leave those alone.
Okay, so how does it not then get rid of the minerals? Because that's a huge thing for a lot of water filtration systems.
The minerals are negatively charged.
Right.
Nowhere to swap. And it works on a natural selection basis. Very clever. Mother Earth is a beautiful gift to us all, to humankind. Those minerals are negatively charged because they know they're beneficial to the earth. So they can pass through. So there's no supplementation required with Zest. You don't need to do that.
Okay. It's fantastic. I love it. So you'd mentioned two different models there. What are the two models and what are the difference between them?
Yeah, well, we had a bit of a rebrand, as you know, earlier in the year. We've been going through that. And lots of people ask questions about Natuno, which was the pre-existing Zest, was probably too big for their home. So Natuno is designed for like your house and ours. There's 4 or 5 people living in the house. We use it for watering the plants and the vegetables that we're growing in the garden. Lola, our little dog, and so that's for a house, really for a household. And then we wanted to introduce Natuno, which is a smaller version. The technology is exactly the same, just a smaller version for, smaller occupancy houses or flats, apartments, and much more suited to fit in just under a conventional kitchen sink. So that's the true difference. Obviously, a smaller house is going to use less water. So Natuno will do 250,000 litres of water, and Juno 150,000 litres of water over a 2-year period. And we work those numbers out based on the national averages of water consumption from the water utility companies. So with a little bit of a buffer to make sure that you get good quality water throughout the process.
So I know where mine is. I know where I had to find out, I had to get my lovely friend Summer to show me where the water inlet to my house was, because a lot of us do not know. It's not, when someone buys a house, it's not one of the first things they look for or sort of necessarily understand. So how do people work out where their water's coming into the house? Because, particularly in the UK, we've got a lot of really old houses. Some people are in brand new builds. So positioning and size of the two different filters. Have you had any issues with that?
We've had some challenges. I wouldn't say issues. In fact, we're working on one currently in a very old dwelling with where they're having to use a water softener, and we have some instances where people are drawing it from a well, and we can treat that water, providing there's some other technologies involved in getting rid of silt and things like that. So you tend to find out where your stop top is when you've got a flood.
Yeah, exactly. And it's an emergency.
I'm not suggesting we go out and get people to flood the houses. Most incoming water supplies will be somewhere near the kitchen, because that's the primary incoming. Find that location, and there's usually a space where you can do an insert of the filter. We have had them in an outbuilding. We've had them down the garden.
Stable yard. We've got one lady at the stable yard.
Yeah, we do. We have one in the most rural part of Derbyshire, and one in Hawaii where they're drawing it out of the ground, which is amazing.
We've got quite a few in Canada as well.
And a lot in Canada, in Calgary, and all of those places where you think, well, the water's going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
And actually, I think we should talk about this. Don't assume your water's good or bad. You'll know. Our technology lead, Oscar, lives in Sweden, and they have some amazing quality water, but they also have their challenges with water, with copper and things. So this is why Zest is very good at adapting to the needs of the dwelling. So it will react to the contamination that's in your water. So
So if people have got questions, obviously they can reach out through the website and there's a contact me through there to get specific, but you have got very detailed instructions, haven't you, on the website? So I would really encourage people to look at those.
Yeah.
And certainly I've got a lot of clients, friends that have had them fitted and we haven't had, touch wood, any issues yet. You know, some people like me who haven't got much of a clue have got the plumber sorted it out fine. Other people that are more practically minded can do it themselves.
Yeah, yeah. I think the innovation of these modern speed fit connections means that you can cut a length of pipe out, isolate the water, cut a length of pipe out, speed fit it. Not really a plumber with his brazing torch. I think that those times have passed. But the important thing is don't restrict the flow. We want full pressure as
Yeah.
best we can throughout the house, and only by stepping down the pipe sizing will we see that impact on water pressure. And we've had some installations where so the instructions have now been changed to a bit of a video where it says, look, you need to install an isolation valve. It needs to be full flow. Really simple, but we're always here. I
Yeah.
love that the feedback often says, "Oh, Richard was brilliant on the phone." Yeah, I spend a lot of time on the phone just answering people's questions. It's a pleasure.
Okay, brilliant. So
Joy doing.
testing, we all want to know about testing. So how
Hmm.
do people know that your filters do what you say it does? Because
Okay.
let's face it, Richard, in a lot of what's been happening over the last things, people have got very good at asking better questions because there's a lot of misinformation going out around on all sides.
There is, and lots of people making sort of very strange claims
Yes.
about certain filtration being able to do things that scientifically unproven. We spend the lion's share of income continually testing, and we will continue to do that because what we want to do is make water accessible to everyone at a very good price. So we're always challenging the manufacturing methodology so that we can um, produce it at a lower cost. We're always testing new contaminations. Some of the PFAS that started out as long chains have been broken into smaller chains, less identifiable. So we're having to really drive that research and development to make sure that we have got the best thing in the market at the best price because, these things could impact cognitive health and respiratory health. There's so many things. It's so bad. It's
Yeah.
become so bad. So testing, we relentlessly test, and if anyone wants to see a full report, they can see them. Obviously, it's intellectual property. What is within the makeup of zeoadsorb, the combination of minerals that we use to do the filtration, but it's an open book. We're not looking to hide anything. We will continue to do testing, as painful as it can be and laborious because it takes a long time. But there are test reports on the website. If you've got a specific issue and you've got a specific issue, you can buy local testing kits. Send us that report, and we'll say, we can help you here, or we can't.
Yeah.
PFAS is something, Catherine, that we've been doing for the last sort of 6 months, and I don't know if anybody's ever seen it in real terms. I'll send you a picture, but it looks like semolina when you really distill it out of the water. And this is an industrial process we're working on right now. But you can't ingest it. You can't do anything with it. It's just
Yeah.
going to cause you a problem. But it looks like semolina. It's awful,
Awful.
awful. And little tiny pieces of plastic, tiny, tiny.
And I'm not going to say too much because we'd rather this video didn't get banned, but Richard and I talk about all sorts of things offline. And if people think about a lot of the modern health challenges, all of these things are cumulative. So when you've got these coagulants in your body that are blocking the flow of energy, water, blood, etc.,
Mm.
there is nothing good that comes out of that. I think I love the fact, for me, what really went for me, as you know, Richard, before I've been looking for ages before I came across you. And it was just such a relief when I did, because one of the things for everyone, I tested, I do not take people's word, however much I like the person. I look through the science, but then most importantly, I test it myself. And one of the tests, the best test for me, is the animals, because animals have got a much greater sense of smell than us. Now, obviously, there's no evidence to suggest they can detect things like PFAS.
No.
But when I first got my Zest installed and I'd flushed it through, because of the water tank, I filled up my horse's water, and I had some of the buckets with the old water in and some with the new Zest, and all three of the ponies went and drank the Zest water and wouldn't touch the other water.
Yeah.
So those of you with animals, we all know that they're very specific about what puddles they'll drink from and where they go. I promise you they'll notice a difference. In terms of we touched on earlier, and I don't want to forget before we move on, when, like me, when they're after the 2 years, when someone's filters up for renewal, what is the process people will follow there, Richard?
Okay. We're going to reach out to you. We're going to reach out to you as we approach the 2 year marker, and we're going to say, we've got a big surprise coming, by the way. This is not for today. We're going to do an exchange. So we'll send you a new one.
Yeah.
And we're going to regenerate and recover your old filter, which means there's zero waste. We're not wasting anything. The upshot of that is, this is how we're going to be able to reduce manufacturing costs and therefore your daily cost for whole house water. So you'll get an email. We'll enter into a new agreement for the next 2 years. And that may be on an installment basis. It might be on a subscription basis. We're going to work all these things out over time. But there is going to be a significant reduction on your original investment. That's for sure. That's absolutely, we're driving that hard. I am.
Brilliant.
It seems as it's my baby. I want to see it grow with a full head of hair, and
Absolutely.
But it's a simple process. And then when you come to change it out, this is the beauty of Zest. You're going to isolate top and bottom. You're going to unscrew it, plug the new one in, open your tap, send the other one back. Now, the label will come in the box with the new system. You don't pay for that. You send it us back. It's prepaid. And then we'll send you a little thank you saying we've received it, all good. And you'll be helping the world change the landscape where water's concerned. Because there's nothing else that stops contamination going back and back. This never-ending cycle of nonsense.
So many of them on the market, as we've discussed numerous times offline, Richard, is their plastic, the level of disposal, the frequency that you have to change the filters. People forget to change the filters or can't afford to, so you've got the contamination going back in. So honestly, I am telling everyone here, it's so easy to have your whole house done for less than £1 a day. It is, I mean, you cannot. So fill up all your glass or stainless steel or copper water bottles, fill them up, you've got everything done. So talk us through the costing options, and we've got a very exciting discount code for people as well, haven't we?
We do. A part of the rebranding exercise was to really think about how it looks in the market and all of that. So we've taken a big breath and invested heavily in rebranding. The price point for Natuno in the UK, actually the price is universal. It's 745. That's including the VAT. Now in the UK, because we don't produce in the UK, we do produce all of our systems ourselves. We're not rebranding. We're not buying in from China and rebranding. We've got absolute surety and the data that goes with the security of the material supply. So they're all certificated. Everything is certificated for drinking water quality. Because we've got control over all of that, it enables us to manage the cost base. So it's 745, but in the UK, the VAT element, so the price will come out under, and then you pay the VAT when you like when you buy anything from abroad. And I bought things from America. In Europe, it's 745 euros. And obviously that includes the VAT in Europe. And America, it's 745 again, but
Yeah.
obviously you do the America and Canada, they pay uh, the currency conversion at their end.
Yeah.
It's really simple. It's just the website's very intuitive. You go on, you tell them, it identifies where you're from, so you need this, and like say it's for the US and Canada, they come with an adapter
Yeah.
because their water fittings are old school. So we don't leave you in the lurch. We provide you with the adapters to get you up and running. So really simple pricing. The discount code that we want to work with you, because we value you and your audience and everything else that you do, and we love that. Where we want to be associated with people who really think about health. This is not about making money. This is about health. This is about I don't know if I told you the story about the little one who we had the first birthing pool born into Zest Water,
Oh,
and she's
wow.
given the best lead into life. Fantastic story. Really hits
Oh,
home for all of us. We're all good people, and we want this to be a success. So we're going to give 20% discount to all of your uh,
which is
audience.
incredibly generous because look, you listeners, anyone listening to this, you are the ones that are really changing the world by taking the action, doing the work you've done consistent. And Richard and his amazing company, they have literally put so much into this system. There is nothing else like this. When you go onto the website and start exploring it, if there's questions on there that you haven't got answered, Richard is really happy to answer them. I can answer some, but the really technical stuff I won't be able to answer. Richard
Yeah,
can.
and I'll pass it on to Oscar.
Yeah,
No,
yeah. So
no,
there's everyone's got their different expertise, but this is fantastic, and I'm absolutely delighted. I'm on a mission, Richard, for us to get this into stable yards as well
yeah,
and animal shelters and things, because for our animals, having that clean water is absolutely essential.
yeah,
And I think the beauty is, look, for that pricing, that is less than £1 a day. You can't even buy a little bottle of plastic water now for that in most places. And not only are you doing the bit for all your two-legged and four-legged and plants and everything, but you're also putting out everything that goes into your wastewater, you're putting out in a better condition than you put in. So imagine that energy passing it forward. It's absolutely fantastic what you've managed to do, Richard, and the team. And I know what a huge, huge job it can be. So availability, are you able to ship globally?
absolutely. And we have done for the last 2 years. It's glorious. Like I say, Hawaii. Sean, if you're watching, we've sent to Hawaii, Hong Kong, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, America,
I've got quite a few people in
India.
India asking
Yep,
now, so that's wonderful. A lot of very conscious dog parents in India now
yep,
who are asking all the right questions, which is wonderful.
yep.
So, so is there anything else I've forgotten to ask you about, Richard?
Uh, no, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think you always cover all the best bases. I just want people to understand one thing, the value of water.
Mm,
You know, whether you buy Zest or not, whether you invest in this part of your health journey or not, um, water is the most valuable resource in our domain. It's not exhaustive. We've only got an infinite amount of it. Let's look after it, and that's join us on this journey. Come on, let's make a difference. Let's show the water companies how it could be done,
yeah.
how it could be done. But responsibility starts at home.
It really does. I absolutely love it, Richard, because there's so many people that are watching or listening to this, whatever platform you happen to be finding us on. And sometimes the problems of the world seem overwhelming. But when we look after our own home and it starts there and we're making sure we're putting back more than we take, it's absolutely perfect. And I think what you and you've got such a wonderful team. You are forming a new community. So anyone who's listened to this has got community projects, reach out to Richard, because this is the way, you know, I can't remember who said it, but don't try and sort of fight the old systems, just build the new ones. And that's exactly what you've done at Zest Water for Life. And I know there's a lot, without mentioning any names, because I don't agree in doing that at all, but there's an awful lot of very good marketing going on with other products. I would encourage people, like you do with anything to regard to your health or what you're doing, ask the difficult questions and see what they get. So here, just to summarize, tell me if I miss anything, Richard. You're getting a system that does the whole of your house, and like us, the garden as well. Two different size options depending how many people and pets at your property. It lasts for at least 2 years. You'll get a reminder when yours is due for replacement. It's less than £1 a day. It's literally using nature, the wonder of nature, none of these horrible man-made synthetics to actually do the job for you. You're putting your wastewater that's going out the other end is better than what you've received in, so you're contributing to the greater good. And very importantly, none of the contaminants that it's picking up are being put back into the system. They're being taken out for good. So, I mean, what is not to love?
Can I have one?
Yeah, I've got one. I'm going to show the pictures.
No, really, genuinely. And just, we were talking about, let's build a new system, rainwater harvesting. There's going to be a new Zest rainwater harvesting system that's going to be really simple.
Wow.
Allows allotments and people who are not anywhere near mains water to take good water from the sky, convert it into really safe, suitable water that's full of energy.
I've got 2 friends that were asking about this, so I will send them this video as soon as it's up. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So
one last thing. Sorry, can I tell you about one last thing? Harmony. When Harmony eventually finds her way onto the world stage, you'll have hydrogenated water as well. We're working out just that last bit where we can increase the oxygen levels in the water. We're not messing about with pH. We've got all the suitability to manage pH inside our bodies. If we can add more oxygen, faster healing.
Yes.
No doubt about it. That's it. Harmony.
Fantastic.
Remember that.
So
not the hairspray.
Yeah, every single person who's joining this journey to, you know, Zest Water for Life is really important. We are forming community. We want to hear your feedback. We want to have your questions. There's going to be a link below, and don't forget to use the discount code below. We really appreciate you being so generous with our listeners, Richard. Thank you so much, because that can make all the difference. And, you know, please look into this, share this with friends, share it with communities, because this is going to make a huge difference. Richard, thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for all the development. And for everyone watching this, you know, feel free to rewatch it, ask us questions, but this is such an important step towards your health.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for giving us the platform to come.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Take care. See you, everybody.
Bye. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. And if you feel inspired, please do share with your friends and family. This helps us spread the word, and also helps me encourage some exciting new guests to take part in this podcast. And above all, stay curious and stay free.